I'm Amanda. I would like to talk to you today about gun control. We live in a society where it is fairly easy to access a weapon, and the media has blown up every incident that happens that involves a weapon. Everything from the shooting in Aurora at the movie theater, to the Fort Hood shooting, to the Sandy Hook, to Virginia Tech, to Columbine. The list goes on. There are many different incidences that have happened that have involved a shooting of some kind. And there are many that we don't hear about. Domestic violence, the gang-related shootings, the list goes on. But what we need to talk about is not so much the fact that we need gun control, as we need to talk about gun education. We have the need to feel safe. We want to feel safe in our homes. We want to feel safe when we go to school, to the movies, to the park, to work. We have that right to feel safe in our environment. The problem is that the government, as of right now, is wanting to take away some of our sense of security and putting into such strict regulations on gun control or the access of weapons. I personally don't own a weapon. I have been around guns. My dad has owned a few, and honestly, I was quite terrified of the idea of handling one until just this year. I have a friend who owns multiple guns, who has been active duty military, and showed me safety, respect for the weapon. So the issue so much now is not, should we have so much regulation on weapons? Because honestly, if someone wants to get one, they're going to get one. It's no different than if someone wants to buy drugs off the street or pain pills or anything else that becomes illegal, they will find a way to get it. If someone really wants to kill someone, they will find a way, whether it's through guns, through bombs, knives, you name it, they will find a way to do it. I mean, you look at 9/11, there's topics of box cutters, something so simple that causes damage. The Oklahoma City bombing, that was a bomb, not a gun, but you can still access the things that are used to make these bombs. So the topic should not be, how can we regulate gun control? How can we keep law-abiding citizens from getting weapons? As it is, how can we teach our people the proper way to handle a weapon? Most of our shootings that we see from kids in the ages of 15 to 24, they are obviously not able to buy the weapon. They are not of legal age, and most of them have not been trained, because the problem lies in that the parents have the weapons and they keep them hidden. Most of them keep the ammo away from the gun, because they don't teach their children proper safety. They don't give them access to the weapon and train them in how to have a healthy respect and fear for it. Guns don't kill people. We've heard this before, and I'm sure you have, that people kill people, which is true. A gun in and of itself can sit there and do absolutely nothing. It is the person that's holding it that makes the decision. My children have been around guns. We go over to my friend's house. He has one sitting out for protection. My kids don't touch it. They have been trained and taught a respect for the weapon. They have been taught to be careful when they're around him, and he has taken the time to show them how to properly handle a weapon. And you can look at gun control. You can look at the statistics of gun control. Chicago has the access to purchase a weapon in your home, but they do not sell permits. You cannot carry your gun anywhere. They have one of the highest violent rates of shootings in the country. So obviously, putting a ban on who can carry a gun and who can't is not working. When you look at non-fatal accidents in the hospital, firearms falls very, very low, second to dog bites as being non-fatal. And you can look at the fatal accidents in 2007. Firearms still ranked very low. They ranked lower than machinery, with the highest motor vehicle accidents. You have a greater chance of being killed in an accident in your car than you do with a gun. And the rates here in Florida have dropped by Florida being being allowed to carry a weapon, a concealed carry permit. They have been trained. They have gone through the classes. You can't just go out and get this concealed carry permit. You have to go through the Department of Agriculture. You take classes at your local gun shop that provide firearm safety. You have to take a test and classes with the Department of Agriculture to make sure that you properly understand what happens when you hold this weapon. Our rates have dropped significantly since we've been allowed to carry a weapon with us. It is 36% lower than it was before the law took effect. And that was back in 2007. So they have dropped. Since we've been allowed to carry a weapon, the rates of murder have dropped. People are not getting them. The majority of law-abiding citizens are not getting them to hurt somebody on purpose. They're getting them as a protection for themselves. To be able to have the right to carry a weapon, that's the Second Amendment, that we have is in our home or in our car. It's not an issue of regulating who is allowed to carry a weapon. Yes, there should be background checks to make sure that people who are getting them do not have a history of violence or criminal activity. That is important. There should be background checks. There should be some form of checking to see who is getting these weapons. But this is the bigger issue, is making sure we are training our children, because the biggest gap in gun violence is coming from our kids. If they are taught early, whether it's hunting or going to the shooting range and learning how to handle either a handgun or a rifle, by training them early, starting them early to have a healthy fear of what this weapon can do. There's rules that the NRA asks you to pay attention to. Keep your hand off the trigger. Know what's behind the thing that you want to shoot to ensure that you're not going to harm anybody else. Do not point the gun loaded at anyone. We have taught my children, you always check to see if the gun is loaded and how to do that. Never put your hand on the trigger, ever. There are ways to teach our children safety. If they know that we have a weapon in the house and we choose to not teach them properly, they're going to be curious. They're going to want to touch it, and they're going to end up either hurting themselves, hurting someone else, taking it to school. If you look at the Columbine shooting, for one, I lived at the time maybe an hour away from that high school. I remember being at school when that happened. It was devastating for us. But the parents should have taken the time to acknowledge something wrong with their children and had taken the proper precautions, removing the firearms from the home. If they had been trained early and caught early, this wouldn't have happened. Now, I'm not saying it's all the parents' fault, because obviously a teenager's going to do what a teenager's going to do. But the blame needs to be placed on the parents needing to start to train our children. Same with driving a car. We don't throw them out onto the road until they have been trained to have a healthy they're doing, because that is more dangerous and more current of fatal instances coming from driving your car over a gun. We live in the South, and that is a big hot button topic down here, because the majority of people down here, I'm sure, own a gun or know someone who does. I would own one if I could afford one, because I have the right to, and as a single mom, I want the ability to protect my children if I needed to. So I'm urging you to, when you hear the topics of gun control, when you think about what goes on with that we look more to the education part of it. We need to educate our children. We need to train them. We need to educate anybody who wants to come in contact with a firearm. Do the background checks. Make sure that a criminal is not getting it. If a criminal or if a man with a misdemeanor violence has been banned from owning a gun for the rest of his life, someone who's coming out of prison who has a history of violence should be as well. That is a common protection for the rest of us who have done what we're supposed to do and are following the law. There should be some form of protection for us to make sure that those that could potentially cause more violence do not have access to one. Now, I'm saying that's going to be easy, because if someone wants to find a gun, they're going to find a gun. Plain and simple. They'll find a way. But we need to our children first. With precautions and we can protect them, we can train them, and that way when they are around one, it's not this curiosity of, oh, I need to show my friend. It's, I know not to touch. I've been taught. So when you hear the title, look more towards the education portion of it than just regulating everybody from having a gun. Thank you.